Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're diving into something huge. We're going on an epic, century-long odyssey through the history of the world's most popular sporting event. Yep, we're talking about the FIFA World Cup. From those dusty pitches back in the day all the way to the state-of-the-art mega stadiums we see now, we're going to trace exactly how the beautiful game transcended sport to become a literal global phenomenon. 104. Just let that number sink in for a second. 104. That is the staggering number of matches we're going to see played in the upcoming 2026 tournament. It's wild, right? It immediately sets the stage for just how massive the modern event has become. It's transformed into this absolute behemoth of international competition. Which naturally brings us to the big question. How exactly did a humble little 13-team tournament grow into the single biggest spectacle on planet Earth? Well, to figure that out, we need to hop in a time machine and travel directly back to the modest, frankly pretty challenging beginnings of this whole thing. Okay, let's dive into this. The logistical leap here is just unbelievable. Over on one side, you have the inaugural 1930 tournament down in Uruguay, which is 13 participating nations. And then on the other side, we're staring down the barrel of the 2026 mega tournament, which features a whopping 48 teams spread out across 3 entire host nations. The contrast in sheer scale is absolutely mind-blowing. And to understand how we got here, well, we've got to start at the beginning. Act 1, the birth and the struggle. So the whole shebang started with FIFA president Jules Rimet. Back in 1928, he proposed a dedicated global tournament because, he really wanted to move international football beyond just the Olympics. He had this vision of a competition that would truly celebrate international cooperation. And that vision? It actually materialized in 1930 with the inaugural tournament hosted by Uruguay, who, by the way, were celebrating their centennial of independence. Now, only 13 original nations participated, mostly because traveling to South America was a massive challenge for the European teams back then, but it was a huge success, culminating in Uruguay securing a 4-2 victory over Argentina to become the very first champions. But as the tournament started to expand, it quickly ran headfirst into global realities. By 1934, Italy became the first European host, and the event really started to reflect the political climates of the era. Mussolini, for example, utilized the 34 tournament to showcase fascist Italy on a global stage. Then, France hosted in 1938. But right after that, the dream hit a wall. The dark global shadow of World War II meant everything had to be put on hold. There were absolutely no tournaments played in 1942 or 1946. Act 2. Legends and Post-War Triumphs. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer unpredictable drama of that post-war return. It's known as the Maracanazo. It's 1950, and the host nation, Brazil, is heavily favored to win it all. Everyone thought it was a done deal, but instead, in a massive upset, Uruguay defeats Brazil 2-1 right there in the final match. It was a cultural shockwave that stunned the entire world. That single match essentially defined a whole generation of football and proved that, on the World Cup stage, the impossible was actually quite possible. This whole post-war era witnessed the redemptive rise of some true global superstars. Think about 1958. A 17-year-old kid named Pelé emerges from nowhere to lead Brazil to victory. A 17-year-old. Then skip ahead to 1966, where Jeff Hurst scores a famous hat-trick in the final to secure host nation England their one and only World Cup. And by 1970, Pelé is back, cementing his absolute mythical status by winning a third title. These are the incredible narratives that took mere players and turned them into absolute global icons. But, it wasn't just the players evolving out there, it was how we, the audience, experienced them. The 1970 tournament in Mexico marked a massive, crucial technological shift. It was the very first World Cup to be broadcast worldwide in color. Suddenly, the vibrant greens of the pitch and the bright, iconic yellow of Brazil's jerseys were beaming directly into living rooms across the globe. It was a real game changer that fundamentally shifted how humanity consumed the sport. Act 3, expanding the beautiful game. Let's move to the modern era and see how this builds, because the rapid, structured growth here is something else. In 1982, over in Spain, the tournament expands to a 24-team format. Then by 1994, hosted in the USA, it smashes attendance records and finds immense commercial success. And just 4 short years later, in 1998 in France, it expands once again into that famous 32-team format most of us grew up with. The snowball was rolling fast, and it was getting huge. Naturally, as the format got bigger, the global reach and the stakes grew exponentially higher too. In 2002, the tournament heads over to Asia for the very first time, co-hosted by Korea and Japan. And because the margins of victory were getting so incredibly tight on this massive global stage, advanced technology had to step in to ensure absolute fairness. So we see goal line technology introduced in 2010 down in South Africa, followed closely by the implementation of VAR, the Video Assistant Referee, in 2018 in Russia. The record books. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is framing the history of the sport strictly through these mind-boggling statistics. When we actually look at human greatness under absolute peak pressure, the stats are just wild. Take Germany. They hold a staggering 8 final appearances. Or look at Brazil, who held down 13 consecutive matches unbeaten between 1958 and 1966. And the biggest win? No, it's not Brazil or Germany. That actually belongs to Hungary, with an absolutely astonishing 10-1 victory over El Salvador back in 1982. 10-1. But when we start talking about incredible individual achievements, we have to talk about the number 13. 13 goals. To put that into perspective, in a modern tournament, scoring 5 or 6 goals is usually enough to win you the Golden Boot. But this massive number belongs to France's Just Fontaine, who scored an untouchable 13 goals in the 1958 tournament alone. It's one of those records that honestly seems utterly impossible to break today. Or hey, how about the number 5? This represents Brazil's record 5 World Cup titles. Literally no other nation has managed to achieve this level of sustained excellence across the entire history of the sport. It's a true testament to a culture that is completely, fundamentally intertwined with football. Act 4. The 2026 Mega Tournament. So, looking ahead, for the first time ever, the tournament is going to be hosted across 3 nations: the USA, Canada, and Mexico. Remember that comparison we made earlier between the 13 teams of 1930 and today? Well, here's the reality of that new scale. We are looking at 48 teams, sorted into 16 groups of 3, competing for what everyone expects to be record-breaking payouts. It is a monumental leap forward in both organization and global participation. So, what does this all mean? Why does this century of history deeply matter beyond just kicking a ball around a pitch? It matters because football has become an incredibly powerful tool for unity, for inspiration, tourism, and even national identity worldwide. Host nations see vast economic and global branding benefits, sure, but on a deeper level, the social influence literally binds entire populations together. It's an event that tells the story of nations, capturing passion and pride in a way that pretty much nothing else can. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final thought. With an unprecedented 48 teams entering the global arena very soon, who's going to write the next chapter of the beautiful game? Is it going to be a seasoned powerhouse? Or will this massively expanded format allow a smaller nation to seize a historic chance? I don't know about you, but I absolutely cannot wait to watch the future of this tournament unfold. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and keep learning.